Tiekie Barnard, the CEO, Shared Vision Initiative, all the way from South Africa. The topic is leadership, value-based systems management, and SMEs.
Hello, Charles. I'm
How are you
here.
doing?
Good afternoon. I'm doing very well.
Good to know that you're doing well. We cannot take it for granted.
Thank you so much. And I just thought, thank you. It's really great to be here. So I'm just going to share my screen and then I'll start my talk. But I just want to say to Dr. James, that was really very insightful, because I really believe that the power lies in the collective. So we have to work together to get the AFCFTA ready. I've got my 20 minutes. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Okay, so my name is Tiekie Barnard and I'm the CEO and founder of the Shared Value Africa initiative. We are a part of a global network. We've got partners in India, Hong Kong, Australia, and in America. And we a Pan-African organization. We were 3 years old on the 25th of May this year. And our mandate is to advocate for the adoption of the shared value business management model. But first, I want to say that the purpose of business, and that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today, is that the purpose of business is to create value. You know, we do that through work, services, products, sell or trade to customers, and we capture some of those values and we make our profit, and we become sustainable. In the real world, outside of all of these economic theory that we have, every business is successful exactly to the extent that it does something others cannot. So your idea needs to be innovative and unique. But on that note, what I want to do is to share with you just a 2-minute video on why we as an organization, was established.
What is it about Africa? Some see struggle. We see opportunity. This is where we thrive. Africa is a land of contrasts. Hundreds of millions of our people live without access to clean water and electricity. Yet we have more entrepreneurs than any other continent, and by 2050, half of the world's youth will be African. Africa's been busy. We're urbanizing, embracing technology. We're sprinting forward with some of the fastest growing economies in the world. It's time for African-driven solutions to African problems. It's time to seize the moment and create our own narrative to build the Africa we want. Business has the power to bring about change at scale and make money doing so. The shared value business model reconnects business success with social progress. Shared value is also about partnerships, building business networks that create inclusive growth. The power of collaboration should never be underestimated. If we can bring together businesses and communities from across Africa with a shared purpose, we can build economic value and, most importantly, value for society. It's time for Africa to become the economic powerhouse of the future. Become part of Africa's most powerful shared value business network. Join the Shared Value Africa initiative today.
So thank you. As I said to you, that's our reason, for the work that we do on the continent, that we believe there are so many opportunities and so many possibilities. So our mandate, as I shared, is to advocate for the private sector adoption of the shared value business management concept. And that is to create economic value and value for society, what we call profit with purpose. So the concept of creating shared value hails from Harvard University. It was developed by Professor Michael Porter and Mark Kramer, and they've worked with huge organizations and in the corporate social investment and the corporate social responsibility space, and realized that business has an enormous opportunity to actually create social impact. So they came up, and this is the definition for it, is policies and practices that enhance the competitiveness of a company. So what do we put together from policies and practices perspective as a company that will enhance our competitiveness while we actually advancing the communities in which we operate as well. So we believe as shared value practitioners that we can transform business through creating shared value. And the role of business, I'm sure everybody on this call today will agree with me, has to change. You know, we need to, as business, we need to create value for our stakeholders, not only our shareholders. We've seen the shift from a shareholder capitalism to stakeholder capitalism, where we really have to engage with every single stakeholder in our organization. We need to create economic value, because the only way that we're going to shift our continent to its real rightful place on the global on the global platform is for all of us from a business perspective, is to create that value for society. That's what we have to do. We've got to make our money, create economic value as organizations, but we also have to create value for society. We need to create those inclusive supply and value chains that we work with. We need to create that profit. That's what we always say, create your economic value, which is your profit, with purpose. That is what you do from a societal perspective. And it's not, I have to reiterate that when we create value, it is not about profit only. So just a quick one on our work streams from a shared value perspective. We do research, we create these networks, and we connect businesses together in order to be able to scale. And we advocate, which is one of our biggest pillars. We work extensively with young entrepreneurs to try and take them through the strategic side of their business into the operational side, and then into the people side, in order for them to build sustainable businesses. We have a lot of engagement platforms that we create, and we also have our big event, the same one as Human Capital International. We do a big summit at the end of the year called the Africa Shared Value Leadership Summit. So our current projects I just quickly want to talk about, because we're going to talk about that today, and specifically about women SMEs. And I'm sitting here in front of you today and talk as a woman SME. So we work with with our entrepreneurs. That we created the African Entrepreneurship Forum. We've got our shared value training that we do. We have an investor readiness workshop that we give to build this pipeline of African entrepreneurs. And I'm saying that because I'm tired of investors telling me that there are no African entrepreneurs that they can, that they can support and invest in. We work with the Pan-Africa Chamber of Commerce. We're busy developing an information sharing app for the AFCFTA. And then obviously, I'm not going to talk about all of these. Gender equality is something, as a woman-run organization, that's very important to us. So let me share some facts, which is, it came from yesterday from Annette and Charles and Josephine. Some facts about our young leaders in sub-Saharan Africa. We obviously, as you heard from our video, have the highest rate of entrepreneurship. Yet most of our entrepreneurs are unable to grow their businesses. And this is particularly so for women-owned organizations. And again, I was astounded to see when I read about this, that in 2019, less than 5% of venture capitalist funding, went to companies where it was women co-founders, and I think for me, it's almost unforgivable, if I can say that, as an activist for women, that the venture capitalists can't see the value in these women-run organizations. So yes, and also what Annette said yesterday as well, this funding gap of almost 42 billion, that's needed for our SMEs in Africa, that's women-owned. And yes, as far as COVID-19 is concerned, we know that a lot of our female-led SMEs is really struggling already, and some of them have closed down because they had to take on additional responsibilities. And again, going back to our venture capitalists, technology again has not attracted or retained as many female entrepreneurs. It's not that they're not there. It's just that our, because of gender bias, it's not the value of the woman driving the business is not seen by our VCs. So I love this the African report a while ago actually came up, and I love this headline that they had, which I think is so true today of where we are. And we spoke a little bit about it yesterday, but that investment for women-led businesses is the missing ingredient in African entrepreneurship. It really is. And then the World Bank tells us that we can unlock the potential of women's businesses to become a major driver of economic growth and poverty reduction. And then UN Women tells us that 75% of the positions in parliament are held by men. And then I sometimes have to say, is that maybe a reason why women are not, getting their rightful place at the table? I'm sorry for the technical team. I can't continue with this, with my presentation. Can the technical team maybe help me? Hello?
Our technical team. What problem are you finding, Tiekie?
I can't continue to my next slide. Maybe can I stop sharing for a second? Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. I see them trying to work on the machine.
Okay, let me just, okay.
In a bit.
Sorry about that. Let me try I'll try from my side again, if that's okay with the technical team. Nope, I can't get it. Okay, let me see. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay, let me just quickly go to where I was. Thank you for that. Sorry about that. Yeah, women in the AFCFTA. So I think, Dr. James, really thank you for sharing all of that information. And we know that, and I think Annette also said it yesterday, is that women make up the vast majority of the informal cross-border traders in Africa. But yet, we are really, I can see so many barriers for us as women from an AFCFTA perspective. If we look at the non-tariff barriers, which James has spoken about now, which is really great, because I see that the AFCFTA has started tradebarriers.africa, where you can do online reporting, if you're having problems from a non-tariff barrier perspective. But then there's other challenges that women SMEs also face, is the harassment, the misinformation and the confiscation at goods that happens at border posts. But one thing that I think for me that is really good to see is that the AFCFTA has recognized the importance of gender equality, which is really great for us as women SMEs, and also the fact that it is about inclusive socio-economic development, gender equality, and structural transformation. And then also in Article 27, where they talk about trade and services to improve the export capacity of formal and informal services, because that's the big thing for our women, youth, and youth service suppliers. So what are the barriers that face women SMEs today from a business perspective, and possibly from an AFCFTA perspective as well? Not possibly, definitely. So I've only selected 4 of them, and there are lots of them, I can assure you of that. So the first one is that lack of information, education, and training. We really need, as business, we need to support our SMEs. We need to, if you think about it, leading through a crisis like the one we're in at the moment, I don't think that I would have made it if I didn't learn from my previous work experiences. So we need to make that information, and we need to make information available to our women SMEs, for our young leaders, to be able to make empowered decisions based on the information. Limited or no access to finance. Thank you, EcoBank, for Elevate. We need so much more of that, because on the sub-Saharan Africa, we've got 350 million people that still don't have access to finance. And part of that is also some of our women SMEs. So we can't do enough as far as that is concerned. Then talk about, and this can be a complete conversation on its own, but is about negative attitudes and gender bias. So society dictates in many ways and judge the capabilities of our young people and women. And I just want to say is that we need to give our young people and women a voice and a seat at the decision-making table, because so many decisions, as you saw, 75% of men in government, 75% of leadership in government are male. So many decisions are being made without the voices of women and our young leaders. And the last one is about access and connectivity. So the lack of access to connectivity will allow us not to create that prosperity that we need on the Africa continent. And specifically now also with the AFCFTA. So in sub-Saharan Africa, and this is a statistic that comes from GMSA, is that at the end of 2019, mobile internet adoption was standing at 26%. So if we want people to transact, from a banking perspective, as Dr. James has mentioned, as from the AFCFTA perspective, working to create this banking, facility, there need to be access and there need to be connectivity. So here I've just gone into some action that we need, what we need for our SMEs. So we need to change the narrative. We need to participate, in all of us, in changing the narrative. Our 75% of men in government as well. We need to change the narrative, and we need to support and collaborate with our women SMEs and our young leaders. We need to drive SME funding. From an investor perspective, from a financial institution perspective, we really have to, and we need to remove those barriers, from accessing funding as well. We need to create these ecosystems to collaborate so that we can provide easy and accessible platforms for our women and young leaders. Financial literacy, yesterday, I think it was Charles that spoke about financial literacy and how important it is for our SMEs and also for our young leaders. It really is, because you've got to navigate through some really difficult waters in order to be able to where you want to be. But how do you get there? Because you need to be trained. Then market access, again, I think Charles also spoke yesterday about market access for our organizations, especially now with the AFCFTA as well. We need to identify those markets, and we need to ask government, and large businesses must support the policy initiatives, so that we can take all of those constraints away. And James talking about the tax harmonizing, and instituting a tax system, it would really be great. And then energy and connectivity. Again, that is another huge problem on our continent, which we really need to look at if we want to make and that falls, I guess, James, under infrastructure development, because if we want to make a success of the AFCFTA, we really need to look at all of these things plus many more for our SMEs and for our young leaders. So on that note, before I play this video, I just want to say to everybody on this call today, as the leaders on the Africa continent. We must please support our SMEs and our young leaders, because they are going to be the ones that are going to create the Africa that we want. And thank you, Charles. I'm done. I just want to quickly play this video.
What is creating shared value all about? CSV is short for Creating Shared Value. It is a powerful business management concept that can promote companies to think differently about their approach to social and environmental issues. It is a strategy for addressing society's challenges through profitable business models. It's all about policies and practices that enhance the competitiveness of companies while improving social and environmental conditions in the regions in which they operate. CSV is not CSR. Creating shared value goes beyond philanthropy or corporate social responsibility. Shared value is not about personal values. It's not about sharing the value already created by firms. It is not CSI. It is not philanthropy or corporate social responsibility. Because in these cases, an organization's social contributions are not necessarily intrinsic to the bottom line. The concept of shared value recognizes that societal needs, not just conventional economic needs, define markets. It is also an important tool to align any business to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The social challenges identified by the goals provide a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. When businesses act as businesses, not as charitable donors, they can improve profitability while also improving key measures of societal well-being, environmental performance, public health and nutrition, affordable housing and financial security. Ultimately, it's all about weaving social need into the very fabric of business and creating both economic and societal value. Shared value is the most powerful practice that any company can use to achieve its purpose at scale. It increases company competitiveness and profitability by solving social problems. It helps to drive innovation by seeking opportunities for both business and society. And ultimately, it helps to create a sustainable future.
That's me. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Well,
and I
good.
just want, in closing, to say thank you to Human Capital International for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Tiekie. That's a wonderful presentation. Thanks a lot, Tiekie.